All right. Hey, I'm a little bit early. I don't expect anybody to be on right now. I'm checking my shadows and stuff and seeing if I can actually see things as they're going on and having coffee. Hello. Land of the Absurdly Polite. This coffee cup I had to make sure I got from Minnesota's Caribou before I left to come to lovely Fort Lee, Virginia. Looks like I should be okay. Oh, I have two people. Hi! I am absurdly happy to be doing these again. It's been a while since I have done some live videos on Fiber, so feel free to say hello, type in hi or whatever. I know that a lot of you are going to be learning something new. And of course this is going to stay on my live, or this is going to stay on my Facebook page, so you can go back and watch. Oh my gosh, more people. As it's just about 2 o'clock, I'm probably going to get started. We're going to start with some quick basics about the crochet hook, its anatomy and that sort of thing, and we're going to talk just for a couple minutes on materials, tools, and then we're going to get straight into it because I know a lot of you are excited. I'm going to also start with the crochet, and I'll do knit after. So if you're here for the knit, it will be after. If you're here for both, we're going to start with the crochet. So first things first, we're going to talk real quick about the anatomy of your crochet hook because it actually has an anatomy. Yay! So your crochet hook, let me get my notes, has a point. It has a throat. It has a shaft. Hello. And it has a thumb rest and a handle. All crochet hooks have the same thing. It doesn't matter what kind of hook it is. They have a point. Hi, Amber. They have a point, a throat, a shaft, a thumb rest, and a handle. Your yarn is always going to want to be in the throat. You don't want it really hanging out too much here on the shaft or anything. You want it in the throat because that's where all your work is. There are a couple different holds. The hold I use is called the knife hold, where I hold the thumb rest between two of my fingers, and I kind of go back and forth a little bit like this. There's also a pencil hold, where you hold it like this and you kind of move it. This one takes a little bit more dexterity. I'm not very good at it. I am good with the knife hold. You will find a way that works for you. One of the materials I told you to get, other than obviously a hook, this is a buoy, and it is a size I. There's another kind called, that gets bought a lot, that's the Susan Bates. I don't know if you can see that very well. There we go. Susan Bates. The throat on them is a little different. You can see this one looks more like a slice in. Some people like that. It's not my favorite. I prefer this style, but either one works. Some people like wooden crochet hooks. See, a knife hold, knife hold is just much more comfortable. Some people like wooden crochet hooks. Your hook will depend on the kind of fiber you're using. If you're using a very slippery fiber, something with silk and that sort of thing in it, you'll probably want to use a plastic or wooden crochet hook for grip, so it doesn't slide off all over the place. But a metal's pretty good. And we're just using plain old, I've got some extra pink. I picked Easter colors. I've got pink, I've got bright green, and I've got purple for all my demos today. This is just leftover Red Heart acrylic yarn, worsted weight. Worsted weight is pretty much kind of like your average. It goes anywhere from fine or lace weight, which is like super fine. It's not as thin as like a thread, but you'll get lace weight, which is a 1, 2, which is what they call a fine or closer to a sock yarn. You'll have yarn that's a 3, which is called DK or double knit. and that's it's almost like it's like holding two number ones together. But acrylic worsted weight is a real good basic one. There's 5 for bulky, 6 for super bulky, and there's a 7 for like that enormous yarn that you can make like arm afghans out of, which I have never bought because really it's just cotton tubes stuffed with cotton. Okay, so now that I've talked a little bit about, and that's a real quick, there are people who've done oodles and oodles and oodles of blogs about yarn and weights and things like that. But I know a lot of people are, I know people are going to want to get started. You're going to want to get in there and start crocheting. And so I don't want to, yes. Yeah, some things are pretty pricey. That's why I like, if I'm learning, I like cheap old acrylic because it has a little bit of stretch, but not a lot. It doesn't have the, it's just an easier one to work with for a practice. Next is cotton. I like cotton worsted weight. I make a lot of washcloths and scrubbies. So I'm going to start. Hi, Smatchu. I'm going to have a quick sip of coffee. Got to keep the throat, lubricated. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make a slip knot. And that's, if you've never made a slip knot, it's pretty easy. This is the way I do it. Wrap it around my finger, so I've got it like an X. I gotta remember where my camera is. And I push the yarn tail through. Hello? And there's my slip knot. That's the only slip knot I know how to make. The band is excellent too, but... Hi, Kristen. And then you want to put it on the shaft here. You don't want to do it down at the throat. You want to do it on the shaft. This is one of the places you want to have this when you're starting out. So that way you don't have it, and snug it up slightly. There are a lot of different ways to hold yarn. I hold mine as if I use finger guns. I use a finger gun. I go over. You might be able to see, I always, if I'm knitting or crocheting, I carry the yarn right over this finger. That's my tension, and then I hold it with these fingers. Some people like to, weave it in their fingers. That just makes me feel tangled. I'm not very good at that. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start you out with a simple chain. We're going to do a chain. It's the simplest to do. Oh, I should say when you're working crochet, when you're starting out, holding the tail is actually a little essential because you want to have some tension. So it takes a little bit to work out how you want to hold your yarn. You can hold it like this, like I do, and then I use these fingers to hold it in place. Hi, Do. Holding it in place like this. And then I use this finger, because I use a knife hold, I use this finger to help hold this from sliding all over the place too. So to get your first stitch, all right, we've got our slip knot, not the band, on our shaft, not the movie actor, or the movie, and we're going to grab our yarn. You're going to want it so it's going... Now, also realize I'm doing this as a righty. Everything, if you're a lefty, you'll have to do it exact opposite of what I'm saying, which sounds kind of crazy, and I am sorry. I'm only a righty. So you're going to want to grab your yarn, pull it through your slip knot. You've made a chain! Yay! Or one anyway. And then you just grab your yarn. And I have it going... Here's the back. And one more time like that. If I go too fast or too slow, if I'm really boring, please say so. Then pull through and you've got 1, 2. Okay? The one that's on the hook, they say, count chains from a shaft, you never count the one that's on your hook. That's never a chain. It's always the ones they kind of look like, get my camera, a little bit, you'll see they have 3 parts. 2 loops here, and then one that seems to go underneath. And that is also known as a purl bump. All right, so then we're gonna do a full chain. I remember doing this with Wendy. We just did chains for a while because it takes a little bit to get used to, you know, holding things in place and sliding that around, pulling that yarn through that hoop from that loop. So we've got 1, 2, 3, we've got 4 right now. I'm hoping that by the time I get done with this demonstration to get you all started on, of all things, a granny square. Most basic thing to practice. And it's nice to have on your first day a project you can tear apart and do over and over as much as you need to. So I'm going to actually chain a total of 10. And then I'm going to show you how to go back. So this is just the chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, chains do go fast. Yep, they do, because you can get, I mean, you can go, you know, when you get going. Oh, just, I don't think I told, I think I said I'm using a size I. G through J are actually all right with a worsted weight. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you'll notice that I keep moving up with my holding this because I want to try to keep the tension as consistent as possible. And that is going to be your biggest frustration. Hi, Molly. Your biggest frustration is tension. That's why a lot of people get annoyed, because they're too tight or too loose, or they just can't get in between. They can't get a consistency. And it literally just takes practice. You just have to keep doing it. Like if you love, make a mile a minute chain, you know. Why not? I mean, the chain can be useful. You can hang things off of it. I make a chain and I hang things off of it for like Valentine's Day and stuff, or Christmas. Actually, I'm going to chain 11, and the reason for that is, hi, Molly. Okay, well, I don't have a problem starting all over again real quick because I didn't really get real far. So if you've got your tools, I'm using an I. I'm using a boy, which is, I like the throat on it better than I do the Susan Bates, but I still have Susan Bates and I like them too. And we've got our yarn. I'm just using plain old pink Red Heart worsted weight. And to start out, no problem, Molly. To start out, if you've got your hook, some people prefer to use a pencil, and they do that movement with their fingers. Some people prefer a knife. I'm a knifer. Her. Actually, I would never do that because I don't think I could ever hurt anybody, but no problem, Amber. It'll be back. I'll be on here later tonight too, so we'll see you later. To start out, I hope you know how to make a slip knot. I'll show you how I do it. You're going to want approximately 6 inches of tail, give or take, because that's what you'll weave in to secure your ends. And I do like this, and I slide that off, and I push the yarn through. I have a slip knot. All right. Now we have, then you snug it up on the shaft a little bit. It's okay, I hadn't gotten real far. All right, so then snug it up, but not too tight, because you want to be able to slide this around on here. Hello, Ange. Okay, so then to hold your yarn, and I'm going to go over this. There's a couple of things you'll find some people weave the yarn through their fingers. I don't like doing that because I feel like I can't move my fingers and can't be flexible if something happens. So I do my finger gun. I hold it with these 2 fingers. What you talking about? like, I think I need another drink of coffee. You should see me try to do crocheting after a martini. Anyway, so do your finger gun. And the way I hold it, so I use this finger when I'm with a knife hold. I use this finger to hold this steady so it doesn't slide all over hell. Okay, I hold this finger steady right here. So that way I don't lose that. I use my thumb and my middle finger to keep tension with my tail. So that's the easiest way I found. I also knit, and when I knit, because I don't throw, I do continental, I always have my yarn on my left hand. I always have held it like this. So I was taught, it's the way I do it. There are YouTubers who have different ways. There's ones that show lefties. It's all good. All right, so you've got your slip knot on the shaft. We're going to make our first chain stitch, and you're going to go around and under because you want that yarn on the back side and to go over the throat. So we're wrapping it up, and then you're just going to very carefully pull it through. And that's our first chain. And that's that same thing. And you can, some people, they move this one to do it. You can move your finger to do it. However it works to get that wrapped around the throat, like you're choking someone out. Pull it through. I'm going to move a little closer. I hope you can see that okay, because we got 1, 2 chains. There we go. So I'm using my phone. It's the only internet camera I have. And I move my fingers up to hold them because they can loosen or get too tight if you don't try to keep your tension consistent. Try a slightly different angle so you can see it get pulled through the loop like that. So currently we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello. One of the things about, there's the anatomy of a stitch. There is a front loop, a back loop, and your center loop. When I get to the stitches, I'll show you how important that is. But you'll notice it looks kind of like a braid. And on the back side, you should have bumps. So that's the back side. And that's the front side. All right, so I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, never count this one as a stitch. It's not a stitch. It's your, it's just your working. I always count these. All right, it's at 5, so we're at just 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now let's say that with your chain of 10, the pattern calls for you to actually make sure you have 10 total stitches when you go back the other way. You'll actually want to chain then 11 because this 11th chain will help you turn to make the build up. Turning chains, you'll find them on all kinds of patterns. So it helps so that you actually have like a 3-dimensionality to it. It's all right. From our tail with our knot up, should have 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so are we ready to see how to do our first crochet stitch? Yay! Or does anybody have any questions before I start the first crochet stitch? Bueller? I'm not nearly as annoying as he is. Anyway, all right, seems we're all good. All right, thank you. So, to get your first stitch, you'll want to do your crochet in the second stitch from the hook. This is your first one. This is your second one. We're going to be ignoring this first stitch from now on, as far as like it's just our build-up. And you're going to want to take and go under your on that second stitch, the first loop and the second loop. So you're in the 2 top loops of that braid. And there should be a single stitch underneath. That's your purl bump. So right now, you're welcome. This is, when I was learning, I wish someone was this slow and patient with me. I had to go back and rewatch so many videos. So I try super hard to make sure everyone sees exactly what I'm doing. So we've got that. And you can put it on the shelf to kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle room. And you're going to put your yarn over. You're going to grab your yarn with your hook, just pretty much very similar to what we did with the chain. And you're going to pull it through those 2 loops. So you should have 1, 2 loops on the shaft right here. Then you're going to yarn over again. It's called a yarn over. Hello, Victoria. And you're going to pull it. Oh, you bet I will. Yep. Okay. So remember, we're going in the, not this first stitch, it's the second one. And we're taking the point of the crochet hook and we're going under the first loop. And use your thumb to help guide too, because that's okay. Hello. And under the second loop. So you've got the top 2 stitches of the braid. Okay. And that purl bump down there. Grab your yarn. You're already holding it like this, so just grab your yarn like that. And pull it through both of those loops. And I'll be doing that the whole way down, so you'll get to see it the whole way down. And then you're going to yarn over again. And you're going to go through 1, 2. That is your first single crochet. In the UK, that's a double crochet. In the US, it's a single crochet. You have got your first stitch done. So I'm going to go on to the next one. Okay. I'm going to come in a little closer. I hope my camera will let you see, not just the wrinkles on my hands. Under that first loop, under that second loop. Remember, our purl bump is on the back. Okay. And if you need to put it on the shaft here from the throat, just to make sure it stays consistent, go right ahead. Then you're going to grab your yarn again, and you can use, you can, however you have to manipulate it, but the yarn is going to go over the throat, and your hook is going to catch it, pull it through those 2 loops. And then you're going to grab it again. And don't be afraid to use these fingers to hold stuff in place. Honestly, some people, please use your fingers. Use them. We evolved from those so we can have this digit use. That's 1, 2. We have 1, 2 stitches done. And that is what they look like. Purl bump on the bottom. See, 1, 2. They've got kind of a little V, like little legs. And they have that partial braid loop. Because you're basically pulling loops through loops. That's really what it boils down to. You're pulling loops through loops with a hook. All right, we're going to do that. And I will do it slow the whole row down, so you guys get to see this 10 times. Aren't you lucky? Okay, under that first loop, under that second one. And I always, especially when it comes to this foundation, I'm always using my fingers to push stuff because it's not easy. or rather it is years later now, but it can be very frustrating when you're starting out. And so you make sure you grab that yarn, pull it through so that you are on, you got your purl bump. This is your working yarn loop, and this is where you're pulling it through. Adjust the arms so I'm under the camera. And pull that yarn through both. I'm actually going to get you guys to a double crochet today, I promise. As difficult as this seems, or as weird as it seems, I'll get you to a granny today. It's going to be fun. Yeah, that first hole is always... I agree. When I was starting out, the YouTube videos, there weren't quite as many several years ago, and now they're like all over the place. And I would love to be a part of that, but you need like 1,000 subscribers to do live, and I don't have the video editing expertise, software, or camera to do this properly. So that's why we do it this way. All right, so we're going once more into the breach. Go under that first loop. Go under that second loop. So you've got your purl bump, your work. So it's like you have 3 on this side and 2 on the back side. That's what it'll look like. And then, come on, adjust. I'm trying to do this looking at it and try to make sure I stay in focus in the camera. Okay, so then you pull it through. 1, 2. Yarn. Pull through 2 loops. And that's also why I recommend starting out with a bigger hook, especially if you, when you're starting out, because it's you can crochet very tightly. And that can be super frustrating too, because you're trying to get in there with these little hooks and you're like, and it's not a good thing. So this is where we're at right now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got our little legs. All right. And it'll twist around a little bit. Just pull it back. It's just yarn. And if it doesn't work and you got to tear back, oh my God, tear back. I cannot tell you how many things I've torn back. All right, so once again, under both loops. You see, I have to get a little shove so I can get some play in there because it's a little tight. Hi. And you just yarn over. And you pull that yarn through like you're pulling a toddler off a swing set. Not quite. You got 1, 2 loops on here. Yarn over. So you've got 1, 2, 3 like that. Pull it through. All right, halfway there. Usually at this point I've told an off-color story, but I know that some people have kids that will be watching this, so I will not tell my usual off-color stories. I will keep my language clean. Come on. There you go. All right. Come on, quit focusing out, stupid camera. I'm not an iPhone person, but I might need to look into that. Are we doing okay, Molly? Am I going too fast? Is there anything I need to do? Kids. I got one at the youth center today and one upstairs with his door closed because I just really couldn't handle. He plays good music, but it's a little loud. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches to go. We're at 6. And I'll go back and do, okay, I'm sorry. Where can I help you, Molly? I'm sorry you're lost. How can I help you? What part has lost you? So I can go back and help. Excuse me. Was it with the chain or? Okay. You know what? I'll show you something. This is something in the business we call frogging, because you rip it, rip it, rip it back. Okay, so we're gonna go back to, now as far as creating the chain, was that where we're having the issue, Molly? Is could you make the chain? Is that okay, or do you need more help with the chain? For those of you who are following on as far as the chain, as far as the single crochet stitches, you can just go ahead and finish at the end of the row, and I'm gonna work with Molly here. Okay, so you got the chain. Okay, so just make your chain, and you want to chain 11 total stitches, because we're going to be using that 11th stitch to build up for our next row, our first chain run or single crochet row. So tell me when you have your chain made, and then I will transition you to the first stitch. And thank you everyone else for your patience. Oh, not a problem. Go deal with kids. Feral children. So much fun. I gotta make that stitch again. It's too tight. Here we go. I forgot to get myself more water, darn it. It's okay. Okay, so we've got our 11 stitches, or 11 chains. So not this chain. This is your first one. We're going to want a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Okay, so here's chain 11. It's chain 10. We're going into chain 10. Okay. Use your fingers to hold things in place. We're going to go, because you have that kind of braid look. 1, 2. We're going to go under that first one. Under the second one. So what you've got is the top part of that braid. Here's the bottom part of that braid. Okay, and this is your loop that you're going to be using. Okay, so you should have, when you're looking at it head on, it should be, looks like 3 stitches. Are we good with that, Molly? Sorry, I'm making you type probably while you've got your yarn in your hands, and I'm sorry. All right, so if you've got, okay, so then you got your yarn, it's along the, on this it's the right hand side of it. You want to wrap the yarn so it's going like this on your hook. So you've got kind of this wrap, just goes right over it. And then you're going to pull it, just going to pull your hook, grabbing that yarn through both those loops. Give yourself a little slack so you can get in there, okay? So that should give you 2 loops on your shaft. Then you're going to do you're going to grab your yarn again. It's going to be coming over the right hand side, and you're grabbing it again with that hook, and you're going to pull it through both those loops on the hook. 1, 2, so that you just have one loop left on your hook. And that is your first single crochet stitch. Okay? Then we do that, and you've got all the way down, got your back and your front loops. The front loop is always the one that's facing you no matter what, you know, when you're working at it. Front and back loop. Don't worry about this one here in the middle. Just these two are what we're working with. That, like that. Okay. Again, you've got a single, you'll have that single purl bump. If you lose your tension, it's okay, just readjust. Okay. And I like to push all the way through just so I can see that I have 1, 2, and 3 on the top there. And again, you just kind of do that wrap over so that you're able to grab the hook and pull the hook with the yarn through. And there's, like I said, make sure you give yourself a little slack. Wrap around again so it's coming up and around. Pull it through both those loops. Is that making more sense, Molly? I hope so. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Sometimes the yarn is splitty, and that's okay. You just got to make sure you get all the fibers. Okay, there we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 2 on the back. It's kind of all right. We'll grab our yarn, pull it through those 2. Ta-da! 1, 2. Grab it. And my fingers get in the way, so because I'm just used to flipping through everything, so I'm trying not to get my big old honking hands in the way. All right. So there we have 1, 2, and 3 stitches. Again, 1, 2, all right. Pull it under those 2. And you can see, you know, my technique is to do a lot of, sometimes I'm using the hook to do like this, and sometimes I'm using this hand. It's whatever is most comfortable at the time. Your hands become kind of like machines once you get used to it, and you'll find that you kind of piston through things. And that sounded really, really dirty, and I'm sorry. Moving right along, footloose and fancy free. Pull it through. Your 3 there. And take your time and go slow. I mean, your first, this is not meant to be, you know, the best stitches ever. You're not going to have consistent stitches. You're going to have weird tensions until you find your rhythm. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know, but I do know that there will be some kids looking at this later, so I'm trying to keep it kind of on the low. So we have in our little legs and one. You kind of pull it a little bit, pull it apart, and you can see your little stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yee. One of the things I didn't do that I usually do is talk about chain stitches or stitch markers, for the love of Pete, Alyssa. because sometimes it's easy to lose count. So I'm going to do that right now while I'm thinking about it, because you don't have to have these. You can use paper clips, you can use pins, like whatever. This is a locking stitch marker. These are great when you're counting massive amounts of stitches. When I was starting out, I had a hard time finding my first stitch. Like if I'm, I go all the way through, and then I'd need to find the last stitch on that row, and I wouldn't be sure if I hit the right one. Yay, Molly! So here's my first stitch. And underneath those two right there, I'm marking this as my stitch. I am very happy for you, Molly, sincerely. That way I can remember that that is the last stitch of the next row. Okay? Because otherwise I get lost in my count. It happens. But they're great for, you can even use them in knitting, but they're essential for Brendan. Isaac isn't here. They are essential for crochet using some kind of stitch marker. Hi, Moose.
Hi. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your live stream.
Yes, you do. Anyway.
Not.
That's my oldest, Brendan. Or my second oldest. My other oldest is in Minneapolis still. All right, so we're going to do this again. It's okay. So if you count back, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, right? I'm happy. I understand rejoicing. It's awesome. All right, so we want to make sure we mark our first stitch. And you can use paper clips. I've used paper clips. I've used spare yarn that's laying around. Just cut a short amount. Whatever you can use that'll just won't fall out. And you just kind of put it like this, and then you lock it. Bada boom, bada bing. You remember what's the first stitch. All right, let's get back at it. It's kind of dark out, so my lighting's a little weird. Yeah, I have 3 boys. We have our adopted son, and Gabriel, and then there's Brendan, and then who's 18, and then there's Isaac, who's 14. All boys. All right. So we're going to start again with where we were. We're in there. I've only homeschooled the 2 of them, though. Gabriel was already schooled by the time I got him. All right, so remember we're making sure to yarn over and pull. We want to make sure and pull that yarn through those 2 loops. Ta-da! Well, and then you count husband in there. Whew. And the cat. I'm the only girl in the house. All right, so back at it. Under that loop. Boys are fun. Girls are fun too, but I enjoyed raising my boys. Come on, you piece of shoe. There. Ha. Ha 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 ha. See, even I've been doing this for several years, and even I sometimes am like frustrated with certain things. So remember, you got your 3. There we go. Pull the yarn through. Get that old hooking yarn in there. And hook her through. We are almost to the end. We are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 3 more to go. And that's this one, and this one. You'll know this is your last one because you'll see the little tail from your slip knot. All right. Through. yarn over, pull the yarn through, and yarn over, pull, oh, careful, see, the yarn gets splitting, sometimes the hook will catch. So that's not something that happens too often. The smoother the yarn, the tighter the twist of the yarn, the less likely it is to happen. But this is yarn I've had around for like literally forever. And I've used it for these sorts of projects many times where I've been teaching, and so it's old and not very good anymore. All right. It can be a little difficult when you're getting towards the end here. It can get tight. You can kind of loosen it up a little bit just by tugging it back into shape. Very carefully. Because that back one can get snug. This back one here can get snug, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So one of the things I do when I'm starting out with a foundation chain like this is I'll hold that back loop in such a way so I can get under it. And then use this finger to pull that first loop. And then try to show you, and then push that through. There we go. Just like giving birth, ladies. All right. Getting to the end. Okay, pull it through. Got your 2 loops. Yarn over. And pull through. 1, 2, go. Hi, Thea. So the last one can be a little tricky because, again, we can get snug. So just do it do that front loop first. Just get it on the hook. Like that. And then that back one, okay, that back loop, just shove it on. See? So you should still have 1, 2, 3. Then yarn over so that you can grab that yarn with your hook. Pull it through. 1, 2. Yarn over. Okay, so we're gonna wraps around the right over to the left. And pull it through. And we have done it. I'm going to pull my hook out. There we go. Make the loop bigger so I don't lose it. This is row 1. We have 10 stitches done on it. Count from the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Booyah! All right. Yay, Kristen! So, all right. Are we doing okay, Molly? Have we made it to the end of the row? I don't want to go too far ahead and have someone get lost. So you can see on the bottom here, those purl bumps. And some patterns will actually have you going back around and into them, which can be a little bit of a pain because it's tight. Oh, Molly is not doing so good. Oh, well, she's not gotten that far. Do you mind if I, pause for a minute and let you catch up? And then we'll go from there. Also realize from the okay, you got it, Molly. what I'm going to be doing with the next row is going to be very similar to what we were doing on that first row. That first foundation row is always the most difficult when you're beginning, and that's just the nature of it. It will be okay. Just remember that you are wrapping around so you can hook it and pull it through. It's a lot of pulling yarn through. You can do it. You'll be able to go back to this also later on and watch it over and over again. I'm not going to take it down from my thing. Well, today we're going to be making, I'm just teaching three basic things. I'm teaching how to do a chain, a single crochet, and a double crochet, because by the end of the crochet lesson, I want to be able to show people how to do a granny square, which are not nearly as terrifying as everybody thinks they are, but they're great for practice. Same with the knit. I want to get through the knit, the cast on, the knit, and the purl stitches, and start on a washcloth, or start on a pattern for practicing the knit and purl stitches. And I know we can do this. It will be perfect. Not only I am going to do this again at 7 o'clock Central. So if you want to tune in then, that would also be okay. I do not mind, and I will be doing basically the same stuff I'm doing right now. I'm going to do 2 lives because I want to make sure if people have questions, I can answer them on the fly. All right. Well, Molly, I'm going to keep talking you through this. I promise it will be okay. For those of you who are at the end of the first row, you're going to yarn over, and you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to turn. Okay? So Molly, this is very similar to what we're, as far as like going into the loops and stuff, you're going to get it. So you've done that. Now, again, it's the same thing. Reason why we ignored the first chain from the hook is because we need to build this very three-dimensional kind of thing. So we're going to do single crochets across. You got your yarn going this way. You got your hook. You're going to go, remember that first stitch, that last stitch we did? We're going to do the exact same thing we did on that first row. We're going to go under first loop and under the second loop. And you notice it'll be much easier than when trying to do it on the chain, because it will not be nearly as tight. Unless you crochet like you've got all the tension in the world riding on your shoulders. So right now it'll be the same thing. You've got 1, 2 loops on the hook, 3. So there should be 3. And you're going to catch the yarn with your hook, okay? And you're going to pull it through those 2. So you should have the 2, 1, 2 on there. And then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull it through. Now, if you want to, if you're like me and you want to remember that that's the first stitch, get your locking chain, your locking stitch marker. And that's our first stitch, right? We're marking it. Ta-da! Now I won't forget when I go back the other way that that's the last stitch I'll crochet into. All right, so we're going to do that again. Under the 1, 2, so we have, it looks like 3 loops on the hook. We're going to grab that yarn with our hook. We're going to pull it through there. So there it is through the stitch. Okay, so that's your working yarn pulled under those 1, 2 stitches there. This is your loop from the previous. You're going to grab that yarn again. You're going to pull it through. And we're going to do this the whole way down. I really hope I'm going slow enough for you, Molly. I'm trying to make sure that you can see where each stitch goes. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going then, and you can always also send me a private message too if there's something particular that you had a problem with. So then you go through, and I mean, there you go. So then, because basically we're creating these two legs and this little heart shape on the front. Yeah, it is way easier. The foundation row is always a ginormous pain in the keister. And I'm just going to keep doing a steady stitch. Across. And we'll do probably one more row of single crochet just for the practice, and then I'm going to show you a double crochet, and it really will not be as scary as you think. I could show a half double crochet, but we're going to start with a double crochet because of the granny. We can work on, I'm going to do these, here's the thing, I'm going to do these same time all week. So if you need refreshers, like if this time works for you, come in tomorrow. Okay. Come in tomorrow, and we'll be working on another stitch. All right, so I'm gonna go through a little quicker. Just trying to keep it nice and steady. So, Kristen, if you want to do a chain one at the end of the row after, take out your stitch marker. Go into your last stitch. If you want to do a chain one, turn and do one more row of single crochet. Chain one. You can turn and chain one, or you can chain one and turn. There isn't a huge amount of difference in it. If a pattern calls for you to do a certain thing, do it the way the pattern tells you to do it. But for practice purposes, we're not concerned with that. So I'm going to go faster through this row, but I'm going to still try to keep it so you can visually see what I'm doing. Because you can see once you get, this is my normal speed, I'll show you my normal speed. Oh, well, my yarn cooperates. Brats. My normal speed is, I mean, you can get going pretty quick. But it's, that's 7 years of not wanting to smoke, and so when you get to the end of your second row, Kristen, let me know, and then we'll do a double. We'll start with the double crochets. Hi, Jennifer, long time no see. So this is what it looks like then with 1, 2, 3 rows. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Some patterns, it's nice to hear from you again. Some patterns will tell you which side is a wrong side and which is the right side. Generally speaking, the odd numbered side is usually the right side. All right, so now we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and turn. Now to do a double crochet, it's basically doing 2 singles on top of one another. So you're going to wrap around, so you have 2 loops on your hook right now. Then you're going to go into your stitch just like you did with your single crochet. You're going to yarn over again. You're going to pull that through so that you have 1, 2, 3 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, 1, 2, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And that is a double crochet. And I'm going to show you that again. I'm pretty sure you'll get it, but I'm going to show that again. So you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into the stitch like you do with a single. You're going to yarn over. You're going to pull through so that you have 1, 2, 3 loops on your shaft here. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops. 1, 2, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So you can see, here's your legs, It's 2 crochet stitches. Okay, again, slowly, yarn over before you do anything. And you want to come as if you were going to do another chain, like it's the back side, right? Wrapped over this way. Go into your stitch, yarn over, pull through, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Okay? And it's okay if they get kind of big or loopy or whatever while you're practicing, because it's not, it just takes practice. That's all it's the only way I can tell you to do anything is just takes sitting and doing. So yarn over, 1, 2 like that. Go into the stitch, pull that yarn through. So you've got 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. All right, so if it seems like that's not too hard, Kristen, you got that pretty good. Once you get that single crochet down, it starts to make sense what you're doing with the double. You can see the difference in the fabric. It tends to not be as tight, obviously, as the single. I just think about how fishermen use very similar tools to create their nets. Just pulling loops through loops. And then I keep thinking about that meme with the big fat cat. You got any loops, brother? Yarn over, and a loop, 1, 2, 3, 2, and 2. Now in England they would call that a treble. But here so if you get UK patterns, that's what you know they are. Their treble is our double, their double is our single. Their single is just a stitch. All right, so yarn over, last stitch, pull through, bada boom, bada bing. So we've got our turning chain and then our stitches. And in most patterns, the turning chain doesn't count. It's just a turning chain. There's also, you can do, if you're interested, one of the things you can do is called a standing double, which eliminates that altogether. Just real quick. It's basically, you just turn your work, yarn over, go into that first, will you stop it? First stitch, pull through until you have 1, 2, 3, and then you just basically do a double crochet. Woohoo! But for our purposes, we want the chains. All right. Do you want to do another row of that, Kristen? And then I can show you how to do a granny. Because you'll get a lot of practice with these double crochets on a granny stitch or a granny square. Actually, I need to step away for just a minute. I will be right back. Okay, so just go ahead and do a second row, chain three, turn it, and then do a row of 10 double crochets. I'll be right back. I have all these slippery floors everywhere. I'm trying to rush in socks. That's just... Alright, I'm just gonna put that there. I'm gonna use a different color for the granny. I'm gonna use bright green. Oh, there is a stitch that we did not go over, but we will learn it with the basic granny, called the slip stitch. You may actually know what it is. For those who don't, it's basically it's a way to create a circle or to move your yarn to the appropriate stitch so you don't create a level. Now, technically, we're going to be crocheting in the round too, but it isn't hard at all. It should not be scary. This is really super easy to do, especially when you're practicing, because you can just tear back and start again. So I don't want anybody who's on here later to think, oh my God, she's getting them on a granny square. No, granny squares are actually super easy and a great way to practice the double crochet stitch and following patterns and that sort of thing. So when you are ready, Kristen, just send me an okay and get ready and get your yarn ready for a basic granny. Because a lot of times people will do stitch or whatever and then they won't show you how to apply it into a pattern. And I think getting a basic, because then you get a sense of accomplishment when you finally get it done. And I like this bright green. It's very springy. It's so dark today. It's like cloudy and just not as much fun. Neighbor's getting in the car. I put the Mandalorian flag out today. I was very happy. We had the Rebel Alliance flag out for a long time. Now it was time for the Mandalorian clan flag. And probably in a month or so, we'll have the Gondorian white tree flag for when we're ready to do that, because we're weird that way. It's like, hello. We have. I'm very patient, Kristen. You take your time and you get yourself comfortable with the stitch. Hi, Moon Daisy Wendy love. Been a long time since we've done these, hasn't it? I think it was what, every Tuesday night, something like that. Okay. How you feeling with that stitch? Pretty good? So if you want to either tear it back or if you want to cut the yarn and then start over, this will be a completely different project. Well, no, it's not complete. It's a separate. So let me know when you got your slip hook, or your slip hook. Jeez, criminally. Slip knot. And are ready to do your first chain. What? Yep. Like this, what? Okay, so we're gonna do a chain 4. So you chain 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 from the hook. Then you're going to take and you're going to do what's called a slip stitch in the first chain. So you're fine. I thought it was funny. I'm like, is she hissing? Psst, psst, psst. So in that first chain, you're going to go under both the loops. All right. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull that. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull that yarn through. But instead of yarning over and pulling it through again, you're just going to pull it straight through. So you have one hook, and that is your circle. Okay. So it's just that's just all it is. Does that make sense? And then after you've got your loop made, your circle here, you're going to chain 3. And that chain 3 is going to count as your first double crochet. So then you're going to yarn over, and into that little hole right there, going to go all the way through. Yarn over and pull it through that hole. Yarn over. You're going to make your double crochet. That happens. If you do that, it's okay. Let me back up. Just pull it through gently. Okay, so you've got all of your. Make sure you've got 1, 2, 3. Make sure you've got your 4. It's okay if you did that. Just pull it through. It really doesn't 100% matter because you can go through the purl too, but it's just easier in the long run if you go through like that. Yarn over, pull it through, because it's going to make it it's going to be a little weird when you try to get the loop. Instead, don't yarn over, just pull it through the loop, so that's your new loop. And then it's going to be, you got to kind of find it a little bit. Oh, get right there. There we go. And it's okay if it's a little messy because we're going to be doing double crochets over this. And the other nice thing is with this granny square is here's your tail. we're going to be crocheting over the tail too, so you don't have to try and sew it in. You just kind of crochet over it so it kind of locks everything in place. But once you've got that slip stitch made, then you're going to yarn over and chain 3. Okay, and we're going to yarn over. You're going to go through into that little teeny hole. You're going to yarn over all that mess. So you're going through that loop. Yarn over. Yarn over. That's 1. And we're going to, you do that another time. So you yarn over, go into the hole, pull that yarn through the hole, yarn over, go through 2, go to 2, go 1, 2, 3. Once you get those stitches done, you'll be able to see the hole a little bit better. You're going to want to chain 3. Once you've done the chain 3, you're going to yarn over, go back into the hole. Come on. Go. Go back into the hole, yarn over and pull that through the hole. You're going through that center hole, because when we made the loop, you made a hole. Does that make sense? We're basically, we're crocheting in the round around the chain, our chain 4. We're essentially crocheting around the chain 4. Does that make sense? I can back it up if you need to. That's not an issue. Okay? All right. So then create your double crochet again. Hey, Brendan, since you're here and handy, will you get your mother some more water, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And you're going to actually do 3 of these double crochets in that hole. 1. Okay, I'm going to back her up because I don't want you confused. That's no good. Okay, so I'm just going to back it to the beginning because that gets all. All right. We're gonna start her over. I'm gonna start it over. I don't want you confused. Okay, so we've got our slip knot, blah blah blah. Chain 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, thank you, dear.
It has ice in it.
I can hear that. Thank you. Okay, so we've got our chain 4. Basically, what we're doing is we are creating a loop. Come on, fingers, work with me. We're creating a loop, okay? And in the center of that loop is where we're going to be starting all our crochet, double crochets. So we're going to do that slip stitch in that first one. Because see, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, here's the purl bump. Here's the top of the stitch. It doesn't really matter what side shows, but you just want to make sure that you can create that loop. So you pull through. Okay, so you can already see we've got it started being a loop. But here's where it gets a little confusing. You see that right there? That's part of this slip stitch. And we don't want to go into, we want to, when we create our loop, we want to make sure that that bar is like that. So you know, work it around. Get your pinky finger in there if you have to make sure you've got the hole. Does that make much more sense? Does that look easier? And your tail can be over your working yarn like this. Okay, okay, excellent. Oh, good. I can show that again if you need. That bar from the previous stuff. No, you're gonna do that out there. I don't need you banging around on the table. Thank you. So you've got that hole. So this is where we start. You know, hold that all with your fingers there, and do a chain 3. Okay, so we got our chain 3, and then you got to yarn over, and in that hole, just sink her right through. Yarn over, just like you would in a regular stitch. See? And it basically is wrapping the yarn around that chain. And then you're just going to do your double crochet, just like you did in the other stitches. See? 1, 2, 3, and then 1. You're going to do that again. So you've got a total 2 regular double crochets done in that hole with a chain 3, beginning chain 3. Okay. So once you've got 1, 2, 3, basically 3 double crochets, that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. You're going to just chain 1, 2, 3. What we're doing is we're creating spaces to do our double crochets in. And you're going to do 3 more double crochet. So after that chain 3, yarn over, go back into that hole and pull that yarn around, wrapping around the chain. Then yarn over, do the double crochet. Thank you. Okay, yarn over, double crochet. And there's a lot of different ways to do granny squares. This is just really one of the easiest I've ever found as far as creating your basic granny square. So this is what it will look like. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you're going to do that twice more. So you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. You're going to yarn over. And what I'll do is I'll post this in the comment section of this live stream. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And it's okay if you don't get the tail in either. I mean, I just find it's easier to do it that way. Okay, so we've got 3, 3, 3, and then chain 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over.
You're such a good teacher, Mama.
Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate that. Okay. Hi, Pungerbon. How you doing? It's my cat. Likes to try to eat yarn. He loves when I have it out. I've already watched him puke up teal green yarn once. That was
exciting.
Not exciting. Not fun.
Well, for you at least.
Okay.
I don't know if I cleaned it up.
So we have these 3 chain 3 spaces and 4 sets of 3 double crochets. When you get to the end of that 4th set of 3 double crochets, chain 1, 2, 3. Then find the top, you know, your original chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Find the top of that chain 3, that 3rd stitch, and we're going to slip stitch into it. 1, 2, yarn over and pull through. Okay, so you just finished. So basically we're going to end up with 4 chain 3 spaces and 4 sets of 3. Okay, so you got this one, this one, this one. It's chain 3. Oh no! Damn it. Well, that's shit. Okay. So you have 1, 2, 3. The doubles, doubles, chain 3. I don't know why there's no sound, I'm sorry. So you've got your 1, 2, 3 chain. 1, 2, 3. Those double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3. Then look for the top of your chain 3. You got 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's okay, Hunger. There. Okay, so when you've got all the way around here, we've got our original chain 3 here. You need to find that 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And you're going to do a slip stitch into that top of that chain.
Sounds good before jelly.
So this is what you'll end up with. Hi, Tara. Does that make sense? Do you need me to do that again? Okay. All right. So our next round is going to be 3 slip stitches. Okay. We're going to go into the next stitch here. You're going to slip stitch 1. Here's our next one. You're going to slip stitch 1. And then you're going to slip stitch into the space. And now we're in position to start the next round. So then we're going to chain 3 once you're in that space. And then you're going to do 2 double crochets in that same space, just like you did around the hole there. So you'll have basically 3 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 3, yarn over, and then 3 double crochets. 1, 2, okay. This is the chain 3 space, okay? So you've slip stitch. So this is where we ended the last run, was in that chain 3. 2 slip stitches into those 2 stitches. And then this is a chain 3 space. So we need to we have to create a slip stitch. So basically we're anchoring our yarn in that chain 3 space that we made from the previous round. Does that make sense? So it's going to look, okay, all right, I'll go through it. I'll try to go nice and easy. And I mean, if something really doesn't make sense, please, I don't mind tearing back. So once you've slip stitched, I'm going to do the slip stitch just one more time, just so you can see it. So this is when we ended, you know, obviously, as you remember, we ended here. We did a slip stitch into that top chain of the chain 3. So then we have the 2 double crochets. They have their stitches just like the single crochets. They've got the little things, little 2 stitches. So you just go in, you don't do any wraps or anything, you just go in, pull that yarn through, and then just go just through like that. We don't want to build any height. We just want to move the yarn along so we can get to this space. Like that. So it'll make this kind of like that. And then when you get to that space, so we've done 1, 2, this is our 3rd slip stitch. Okay, okay. So then you go on a slip stitch, so again we're not building any height, into that space. And then we chain 3 because this is where we're beginning the next round. Okay, and then because this counts as our first double crochet, that chain 3, we only need to do 2 double crochets there, 1 and 2. So we have 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and you're going to do, in that same space, we're going to do 3 more double crochets. So we're creating, what we're creating are the corners. So this will be a square. You can do round grannies, there's all kinds of grannies, but this is a square one. So we're creating the corners. This will be our corner space when it's all said and done. So then in that space, we're going to be doing 3 more double crochets, 2, quit drifting in that direction, there we go, 2, and 3. Okay, so it will look like this. First corner made, yay! Once you've made that first corner, then you're going to chain just 2. In this one, we're going to do 3 doubles, a chain 3, 3 doubles, all in this corner. Okay? there's the first double, second, and third. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So we've got what we've done from, this is our corner. We've got a space, doing our next corner. After those 3, you do another chain 3. And then, hi Rosemary. And then here's, in that same space, 3 more doubles. Because after I finish this, get this granny square to the point where I'm ready to be, because I'll show you one more round for the repetition because it's an increase every round. And then I'm probably going to start the knit portion of this. Okay, so here we have a side completed. Oh, I've got a cat here and there. There we go. So we've got where we started, chain 3, 3, created a space over this group. And in that we've created another, or second corner in that chain 3 space. Now we've got to create space over this, so we, oh, it's no problem. 1, 2, we're all going to be stuck homebound, and you know us homeschoolers, we just love the sound of our own voices. We love to teach, and I want to give people something to do. Yeah, it kind of does. It gets into everything. And we have a floofy cat. He's part Maine Coon, so. Okay, so there's that chain 2. And then in this corner space, we're going to do our usual, we're going to do 3 double crochets. Hi, Sewa. 2 and 3. All right, got there 3 there. So 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, chain 3 for our corner. Go back into that same space. Do 3 more double crochets. All right, so that's, we're making it around. So we have first corner, first side, second corner, second side. Here's our third corner. We've got to make our space over this group. 1, 2. And then we're going into that last space, and we're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet. What's nice is after I upload this from being live, you can go back and just watch it over and over and over again as much as you want. You could pause it. You can say, what the hell is that woman doing? It's all good. Also, I'm, you know, if you need to private message me and do and get some detail done, just let me know. I am up for that too. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's our last corner done. To finish off our side, and we have our space. Once again, you're going to find 1, 2, 3. Here's the top of your chain 3. So you want to chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and into that we're doing a slip stitch into that top chain. If our hook will go in. through, okay? And then remember, we don't want to build any height, so you just pull it all the way through. So what you're going to have for your first grannies, here's your chain 3, 2 double crochet in that chain 3 space from a previous round. Chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in the space from the previous round, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, chain 2. And your chain 2 will be over this previous round's 3 double crochet. Then 3, 3 chain, 3 double, chain 2, slip stitch in the top of your first chain 3. We're going to do one more round, and you can make this as big or as little as you want, you know, for practice. Tear it back, put it together, it's all good. So with that slip stitch, so you'll see we have 1, 2 double crochets here, and we want to get to this space to start our next round. So that means we have to slip stitch in there. We have to slip stitch. Hello, Amber. So we've got 2 slip stitches. Well, sort of. I want to do one more round to give you an idea of what to do, because it increases each round. So this last round I'm going to show you. I'll do a tish faster because you're catching on really quick. So slip stitch all the way to the corner, because we got these chain 2 spaces, so there's a thing there too. So it's 1, 2, 3 for our first chain. Create your corner the way we've been doing the corners. So a total of 3 double. It's double, double, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 more double crochets in that same corner, okay? 2, 3. Okay, so there we go. So we got to make our corner. So once you've made your corner, you're going to chain 2. But now you've got this space here and that side. You got to fill it with something, and we're going to fill it with 3 double crochets. From our corner, chain 2, in that chain 2 space below, we want to do 3 double crochets. Then you chain 2, and you create the next corner, which is 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet. In subsequent rounds, so I'm going to finish this corner real quick so I can explain what I'm doing. Sorry, I go a little quick, because I want to explain the process slightly. 2 and 3. Okay. So what we're doing here, you see these, you know, we've got 1 chain 2 space, and we put there. So in the next round, when you're going around, you'll make your corner, you'll chain 2, you'll double crochet, or you do 3 double crochet, you'll chain 2 over this, 3 double crochet, chain 2, create your corner. And then the round after that, you'll have 3 spaces. So it'll be a create your corner, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. You know, it continues on. It gets, you'll see the exponentials. Okay. So that's, you know, that's why I say it's slightly different. I mean, you're going to be using those 3 double crochets to create those solid places in between the empties. Does that make sense? And then when you're all done, just cut. Let's pretend I'm all done. Just cut your yarn take your tail, just pull it through. That'll lock you off so that you don't lose it. So that's a basic granny square. There's lots of spaces. There are solid grannies, but I'm not doing a solid granny. I'm just going to do your real basic, practice your double crochets and your chains and your slip stitches. I'm going to take a minute. For those who are looking for the knitting section, I know not everybody, I'm going to start the knitting section in just a moment. But yes, you can. You can eat. I know you don't crochet. The other thing that you can do, Kristen, is you can just keep making your granny square bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Just keep adding yarn, and I will show how to add yarn this week at some point. I haven't figured out exactly when, but you can just keep adding yarn and just make a giant granny square blanket. There are patterns for that too, and I have one. There's a lot of free ones, and I'm going to link some free stuff for people so that they can do their thing. But that was the crochet portion of the live stream. I love you too, Sarah. I miss you. I miss you. I did fix, Sarah, that one necklace you gave me where it kept coming apart because the magnet was so strong. I did fix it finally. I found my jewelry making tool, so I was able to fix it so I can wear the necklace again. On to the knitting portion. Today I'm using, these are plastic. I find plastic is a pretty good happy medium between metal and wood. Because again, oh, you're so welcome. And I'm going to do this again later tonight, and I will be doing, I'm only doing 2 sessions today. And then the rest of the week I'll be doing, see you tomorrow. The rest of the week I'll be doing a session probably about the same time, and just have people can rewatch it when they like. So I'll just do 1 session a day. But today I want to get everybody covered for questions. So as far as knitting goes, these are wooden. They're made of bamboo. And they're nice. There's plastic. And then I also, these are size 3s, but these are metal. What brand are these? Boy. So, oh yes, they are. So these are metal. So you can use all kinds. I'm making a lace thing. That's why I have those little teeny tiny ones. Anyway, for the purposes of everyone being able to see what in God's name I am doing. Oh wait, these are size 11s. I didn't want size 11s. Dag nabbit. Oh, I'll just use these. These are size 10, I think. Bye, Sarah. Okay, so I'm going to use these wooden ones because I didn't, these are the wrong ones too. I'll be back in just a second. I want to get the right size ones that I wanted to use today. I looked at the wrong thing. Ourselves together. So I was looking for my size 8s, forgetting that US size 11 is 8 millimeter. What I wanted was US 8. These are 5 millimeter. We're going to start, so there are a lot of different needles. We're just going to do these are called straights. The straight needles. There are, of course, DPNs or double pointed needles. There's circular needles. There's all different kinds of needles. We're just going to stick with straight needles. These are a pretty basic set. I can't remember who these are by. I inherited a lot of knitting needles. So, a lot of different ones. So again, worsted weight. We're going to learn one of the more basic cast-ons. It's called a long tail. Why is it called a long tail? Because you have a long tail that you use to create your stitches. And we're going to do very similar to the crochet. We're going to start with 10 stitches. And you're going to need a slip knot. So I've probably got, I've got Brendan singing. I apologize if you hear my son singing. He's very loud. So I've probably got about, it's over a foot of yarn tail. So here's the end. And so it's over a foot, close to 20 inches maybe. Not quite. It's a lot. I'm not very accurate with a lot of these. And you're going to create a slip knot just like in crochet. And you're going to take one of your needles. You want your tail, not the working yarn, you want the tail off to the front, facing you, okay? That's very important with the long tail cast on, is that with your, you don't want it to be like this, with your the yarn that's attached to your ball. You don't want that facing you. You want the tail end facing you. So make sure you twist your slip knot to be facing to your right. All right, so now we're gonna do this thing where we're gonna do finger guns. I hold my yarn, okay? So this part is the tail. This is the working. You're making a triangle. This tail goes over your thumb. Wrap it around your thumb like you're giving it a nice warm hug. This one's wrapped around, they're on the outsides of them. So you're making like this really, making a triangle, okay? And you'll find a hold for your yarn. Again, I don't like to wrap my yarn around my fingers because for me it gets very hard to control things and I feel like I can't move the yarn at all, okay? So you're going to take your knitting needle. Here's your, I got to do something real quick. You're going to go to where your thumb is, right here. You're going to lift up that that tail yarn, okay? Then you're going to go like this with the working yarn, okay? You're going to go back under that tail yarn, get your thumb out of it, pull it snug. Not tight, snug. If it's tight, you'll never get your needle into it. I'll show you again. Make your triangle, okay? You're going to pick up the yarn. It's wrapped around your thumb, okay? You can use your finger to hold things in place. It's okay. You're going to go, so you can see where this is wrapped around. You're going to go around it, back through the thumb one, let go of things. You'll see it makes kind of a loopy. Pull through. Okay. He is singing the... Anyway. So you've got... Some people, I don't know how they knit, not counting the slip stitch or the slip knot as a first stitch because I can never do it. All right. So again, tail is wrapped around your thumb, like it's giving it a big hug. Working, it's wrapped around. So it'll look like that, okay. Took me a long time to master the long tail, so if you don't get it, it's okay. But it is, oddly enough, one of the easier cast-ons. under the thumb one, under the working, go through the thumb, pull it through. We're going to do 10 stitches this way. So, under, picking up your loop here, go around and grab that working yarn. You're basically creating a series of slip knots for all intents and purposes. This is the only one that should ever let go. Never let it let go of your finger. Pull it snug. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Excuse me just a moment. I really gotta go tell him to be quiet. Okay. Don't have a boy singing hi-ho, hi-ho anymore. I don't want Disney to get mad at me. All right, so picking up our yarn again. Remember, tail is in the front. This is tail. This is working. Okay, that's attached to the ball. Finger guns. Okay. Pick up under the thumb. Go around and get that working yarn. Drop it off the thumb. What, Ponger? Well, no. If it's not one, it's the other. Pick up thumb. Grab the working yarn and go back under. Ponger Bon, I don't think so. Ponger! No. Now you're making me angry. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've got 7 stitches. Need 3 more. So pick up the outside of the thumb. Grab that working, go back through that thumb. Go pick up the outside of the thumb. Oop, careful, don't get the inside, just the outside of the thumb. Actually, we're going to do 20 stitches because that's, oh, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. We'll do one more. You only need pretty much as many inches as for how many stitches. So approximately an inch a stitch. All right, so one last time. Hello. Grab under. Grab your working. Pull it through the thumb one. And you probably will need to practice that over and over again until you get it to where you can actually pull your needle through the stitches, which is, you know, always exciting. But here I have 10 stitches. I'm going to do a total of 20 because with knitting it's a little tighter, a little smaller. So I'm going to do it a little faster so you can kind of see how it works when you get going with it. You're kind of creating a loop. What you're doing is you're creating a loop that you can pull your working yarn through to create that basic mini slip knot for your beginning, because it'll look, this is what the bottom of it looks like. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm at 16 stitches. When I really get rocketing, it's, you know, but I don't want to do that because then it creates some slop. Don't want sloppy. We want nice and neat. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. All right, so we're at 17. 18. 19. You bugger. Try that. Finger gun. 1 and 20. All right, so we got 20 stitches on here. You are well on your way to your first row of knitting. This is where it gets, there's different ways to do this. I do what's called continental. American style is also known, or colonial is the throw. That's where you hold the yarn in your right hand and you do kind of a wrap. I've tried to do that. I've never been able to do that. So what you're going to learn from me is continental. Not everybody's comfortable with it, but if you also crochet, you might actually be comfortable with it because you hold the yarn the same way. That might be why I was able to teach myself to crochet. Now, I learned to knit when I was 9. I wish I could remember her name. She lived down this road from us. I used to ride my bike there when I was in 4-H. And I quit going because I couldn't figure out how to do the stitches to make a pair of slippers. So for about 2 months in the summer, I was learning how to knit and I just quit. Q30, you know, hit age 35, don't want to be smoking anymore. And so I got a DVD and found YouTube and did the best I could. And 9 years later, cigarette free. Yay! But I have a yarn addiction that I'm sure my husband wishes was much smaller. Okay, so here we have, this is our left needle, right needle, tail. Just leave the tail hang. That's what you sew in afterwards to lock everything down. This is your working yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to your ball. That's the yarn that's important right now. Now, just like with my crochet, I hold it so that it wraps over my pointer finger because I use my other fingers to hold things in place and to hold my needles in place. My left hand does a lot of the holding of things while my right hand does the working. So, this is continental style knitting. The yarn that's attached to the needle goes over my finger and down, and then I hold it to create tension in the palm of my hand with this. If you're more comfortable, like, you know, weaving it around your fingers to hold tension, go right ahead. I have a hard time personally with it. That's just the way that I function. So to do a basic knit stitch, okay, this is super basic. Okay, this is the front of your knit loop, okay? You're gonna go in, use your finger to help you. I do all the time. Gonna go in, so you're doing kind of a cross, Okay, it's an X. So you're going to go in from this side to this side for the back. You're going to wrap that yarn around. Use your finger to help you to hold it in place. And you're going to pull that yarn through this loop. And then you're going to pull that stitch off. Now this is our first stitch, so the tail might be a little loose and it might make things a little cranky. That's okay. Practice will help. Okay, that's your first knit stitch. Okay, you do the same thing here. You go in from this side to this side. Okay, it's the back side. Get my finger out of the way. Okay, instead of having a hook to pull, you have to use your fingers to help. You pull that through so that here's that working yarn. Pull it through. Slip it off the end, 2 stitches, okay, go in, again you're making kind of an X, okay, wrap the yarn bottom over top, so you're going over the top. Okay, hold that in place so it doesn't slide off. Here's your working yarn. That's your loop. This is the stitch you're creating. Pull it off. 1. See? Super slow-mo, because that's how we roll, baby. Goes over the top. Okay, so you're wrapping around from the bottom around. Okay, sliding it back through. There's your working yarn here that's attached to the ball. This is the previous stitch. Pull it off. That first pull off can seem a little terrifying, and sometimes, you know, make sure you move your work forward. You don't want it to sit. You see how the needle has a taper here? You do not want to you don't want your stitches sitting on that taper, because your stitches will get too tight and you will not be able to get that needle in there. It'll be like jamming it in there, and it will be really difficult to get a stitch made out of it. So that's really important that you remember that you need to keep it off the taper. Keep it on the straight part of the shaft of the needle, not on the taper on the tip. All right, so we're going to go back in, wrap around, hold that loop, working yarn, and pull off. Okay, give you an idea what we got going here. That's what we got so far. All right, and we're going on this side. And if you're having a little trouble, it's okay to use your finger to pull a little. So I'm going to show you the back side of that. Okay. Okay. The way you do this, it's causing a twist in the stitch. Okay, wrap it around. Pull it off. It's not like Granny from Looney Tunes where she's doing this. It's nothing like that at all. Okay, go in and wrap around. Okay. See? We're doing pretty good. We are 2, 4, 6, 7 stitches out of 20. And now we go in. We're getting through. We're at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So 9 to go. 20 is a good even number. And it's okay if this, I mean, for practice, it's okay if it's a little loose. Just try, the biggest thing is to try to be looser rather than tighter. Because you'll get stitches that are just too tight, and you'll try to get it in and be like, you can't hardly get it in. So, and that, just like with the crochet at the beginning, just takes practice. Just really just practice casting on and practice getting that stitch tension, and you'll find it. You'll find it when you're doing this. You'll find it. See, this is kind of where I am with that. All right. Be careful because it's starting to creep up on here. You gotta be careful of that. So that will definitely make life harder on you. Did you just huff at me, Kit? I'm busy. Okay. And there. And we're almost there. We've got 1, 2, 3 stitches to go. So there's and I know no one's watching right now, and that's just fine. I'll do this again later on tonight. And done. It's your first row. So there's row 1. And, you know, obviously I do this a lot, so getting the tension and everything even is easy for me. It'll take you a little bit to get it, but you'll get it. I just know you will. All right, so we're gonna turn it over. So our tail is now on this side. So if sometimes you wonder if you're on an even or an odd row, check where your tail is. If your tail is at the back end, then it's on the, hello, hi Dee Dee. If your tail is on this end, it is a right side row or an even numbered row. Not necessarily right side, but it's an even numbered row. If your tail is at this end, then it's probably an odd numbered row. All right, so same thing as before with this knitting. Long time. So we're holding it again the same way we did before. And we're going to be going into the stitch the same way we did before. So you'll see that the yarn goes behind the needle. Your working yarn is, Pongerbon, you butthead, stop it. No yarn for you. Okay. Anyway, so what you want to do is you want to do the same thing we did. You're holding the yarn in the back. You're going to go in, making your X, okay? yarn over, pull it through. Okay. Essentially what we're creating right now is called a garter stitch. The most basic, it's just knitting every row. And that's what we'll do for this row, is we're going to do a knit stitch in every one. And I'm going to do a total of 3 rows with this knit stitch. And I'm going a little faster this time, and I'll go slow neck, you know, with the side when I do this later. But basically, you're creating that X, and you're just pulling that, just like with a crochet. You're just pulling that loop through to create the next loop. Okay. Now, if you wanted to create stockinette, which is another very basic knit fabric, hold on a second. I got my husband calling me. He's so sweet. I love that man. He feeds my yarn addiction. So we're going to do this row as another knit. So basically I'm going to do a total of 3 rounds of knit. Trying to go nice and even so that people can see. It's so weird. I'm so used to being in North, you know, going to like Cub Foods or Hy-Vee or something like that, or Aldi. We're further south here in Virginia, and they have Food Lion. And the only time I've ever heard of Food Lion was in Animal House. I'd never heard of Food Lion before in my life, except in Animal House. They're looting the Food Lion, for God's sake. I haven't watched that movie in a very, 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 very long time. Okay. Oh, are you on the table like you should not be? You get your furry buns down. You're naughty. Naughty, naughty. Yeah, I know. All right, so I'm going to do one more row of knit, and then we're going to do a purl row. Because these are the 2, all knitting has 2 basic stitches. Okay, just 2. Knit and purl. Don't think about yarn overs, don't think about, you know, decreases, increases, any of that jazz. It's all either a knit stitch or a purl stitch. You can create different effects by doing them in different areas, but, and I can show you a couple of things I'm working on when I'm done here that show kind of the differences in like a lace kind of thing. So once again, when you're starting out, make sure you're close enough to the tip that you can get things off easily, but not so close that you're sliding off. So you're going in the stitch. So you're creating that twist in that loop, okay? Now when we go to the other side, I'm going to add, you know, to do the purl stitch, I'm going to ask you, it's going to seem a little weird, but if you do stockinette, it tends to curl. Stockinette will roll up, especially on the edges, because of the way it's set up. So to lessen or prevent that, you basically create a garter stitch row. So on the edges. So I will show you what that means when we get there. But it will also help if you're using this as like a practice. to keep your work from curling on you. Go in and make an X, loop around, go out. It is very zen to sit and do this. Put in something that you don't actually have to pay attention to and just knit. I've created many a thing doing that. I don't know how many of you are going to be on any kind of lockdown soon, but I hope you have enough of what you need. Okay, so that's row 3. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, turn it over. See, you can, and garter stitch has this knobbly kind of look, and it can be kind of squishy. Compare if you use the right kind of yarn. If you use a nice bulky, fuzzy, fluffy yarn, it can be very fun. But for this one, we're going to do a purl stitch. So first thing I'm going to have you do is hold your yarn like we were, and we're going to do 2 knit stitches. Okay, going to do 2 knit. 1, so you get in, create your X, pull it through. Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Now take your working yarn here, put it in front. Okay, so you're in the front of your needles now with your working yarn. Now with the knit stitch, we were going in the back side of the loop, right? We're going to be going into the front, like so. Okay, so you're going in the front. Yarn is in front of it. Going in there. Wrap your yarn around. Pull it through. Okay. I'm going to show you that many more times. Oh, man's home. Guess we're not doing salads tonight. All right, yarn in the front. You can see I still have it wrapped around for tension. If you have to let it loose for now, it's fine when you're practicing. But when you get better at it, remember you need to keep your tension. So I have it still wrapped around my finger. Go in that part of the stitch like this. Wrap around. Again, you can use this finger to hold stuff, so don't be afraid to use your fingers. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? Pull it off. You might need to snug it slightly too. Okay? Once again, I'm going to hold it up closer. Going in the front. Okay, your yarn is in the front. Wrap around. Pull through. Got your loop. Slide that one off. Okay? We're going to do this the whole, you can, I hold it up here. I did for ease, I was showing you like this. Because then I use my, I think of my finger almost as like a sewing. Do this. Pull through. Okay. Go in, remember, we're not going in this side, we're going in the front. Wrap around. Hi, sweetie. Pull through. And I think after I finish this purl row, I'm going to stop for this session because I'm going to be back in a couple hours. And we'll kind of do a continuation. We'll do a refresher on crochet at the end of that one. All right, so go in the front. Because you'll see now on this side, it's starting to look a little different. Go in the back, out in the front, wrap around, pull it through. And that's why I say use your fingers, because it's easy for you to lose things and have it slide. Feel free to cap things off with fingers and stuff. The man is home. His fatigues make lots of noise. All right, go back in. Wrap that yarn around. Slide off the loop. Purl stitches tend to be slightly looser. It has to do with the way the yarn, the yarn is held and stuff. So after you do it, just give it a little tug, not tug, but just a little snug up, so that way you don't lose your tension. We're going to do this all the way until we get to the last 2 stitches. Almost to the end. Oh, my boy is so loud. I'm not sure if you guys can hear him, but I certainly can. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to do 2 more purl stitches. And purl is spelled P-U-R-L, which is kind of fun. Because English is crazy. All right, we have 2 stitches left. Go in and knit them. We'll create a garter stitch edge for our stockinette so it doesn't. All right, so that, you can see it looks pretty much the same, a lot alike. But then when you flip it around and look, you'll see that when we pull it like this, the stitches are looking different. Now to give you an example, this is a shawl I'm working on. These sections here, these little kind of braids, these are stockinette. This is the knit side right here. This is the knit side. This is the purl side. Okay. Now this is, hello Nicholas. This is obviously got yarn overs and decreases and stuff. This is not something we'll do. I just want to give you an example of stockinette, what it looks like. The back side of stockinette will look like this. The front side will look like this. These kind of chains. All right, everybody. I'll be back later tonight, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, and we'll continue on with what we're doing. Thank you for everyone who watched and commented. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to do this every day this week, and if people want me to continue on from there, I certainly will. But I hope everyone gets a good lesson in how to crochet or knit. If I went too fast or was too confusing, leave a comment. If I was too confusing, let me know. If I need to go over something again, leave a comment so I can start over and go over it so you can get it. Because that's frustrating when you're trying to learn something and you just can't quite get it and the teacher won't go back. I will go back. I will tear back. I will do what it takes to help you learn this. But thank you everyone. I really appreciate it. This was like a super long session. But we will see y'all later tonight. Bye-bye.